by Mr. Nagraj Garla, MD and CEO of IDBI Capital, and Mr. A.K. Prabhakar, the Head of Research at IDBI Capital, to give us a preview of what we can expect in the next 2 days. Gentlemen, morning. Mr. Nagraj, I'm going to start with you. Can you start by giving us a sense in terms of what the theme of this particular conference is and what is the kind of interest that we're seeing from FIIs and DIIs towards a lot of the participating companies that you have?
Good morning, Ekta and Prashant. Actually, it is a 2-day conference. Nearly 200 meetings have been scheduled. 20 companies and 100 investors are expected to participate in the meeting. So actually, the genesis for this meeting is actually, if you look at data, from decade 2007 to 2017, actually small cap has delivered the 3.7x and the mid caps have delivered 3.5x as against a large cap of 2.5x. So based on this thesis, we thought actually no, today's mid caps are tomorrow's large caps. Based on this thesis, actually we are conducting this 2 days small and mid cap conference.
Right. Good. Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Garla, if you can tell us which are the sectors where there is the heaviest representation, or it's actually sector agnostic. You've got companies, and especially because these are smaller and mid-cap companies, they're from all over.
It is across all sectors. It is across all sectors, basically from pharma as well as textiles. I mean, there is a participation from almost all sectors, basically.
Give us some broad numbers in terms of what is the aggregate ownership in mid-caps and small caps as far as institutions go. I'm referring to, mutual funds, FPIs, financial institutions, insurance companies. I mean, essentially, what is the institutional ownership in mid-caps and small caps, if you have any data?
We don't have exact data, but actually I think more than 30% is actually what I feel it is owned by institutions in mid-cap space.
Okay. Mr. Prabhakar, I wanted to come to you because IDBI Cap seems to have done some work in the textile industry, the home textile industry, plus you have a little bit of representation this time as well from the likes of Indocount. Your sense, sir, in terms of what kind of growth we can expect from the textile space?
Yeah. Good morning. See, textile is one place where the valuations are very attractive. It trades below 10 times forward earnings, and going forward, a re-rating in the sector is on cards. And there is a shift. Now, China has been the market leader in textile, and that too in export market. And we have done a report on mostly home textile industry. So where export is a major chunk. So there, China has been more than 55%, where China is losing its shares due to cost escalation in China, and that benefit is getting passed on to India, where cost escalation is not there, and we had a stable currency which is likely to benefit the textile industry. And our textile industry also has upgraded, and we have central government and state government supporting, because it is a 5th largest employer in India after agriculture and other industries. So textile is a focus area of the government, and in the companies which are there, which we have covered, now they have created a niche and they have created brand for themselves in markets in US and Europe. So that is where their exports are going higher, and they have sparse capacity. If you take Indocount, now they have an asset light model, whereas when you take the other company, Trident, they have sparse capacity. So we think they can scale up, and even 20-25% growth is going to be a re-rating for the stock. And if they trade at 12 times their forward earnings, it is going to be 40% upside for both these stocks.
Okay. Mr. Prabhakar, the other sector that seems to be seeing a lot of interest and is seeing some amount of representation right now is the NBFC/brokerage sector. So Motilal Oswal, Edelweiss Financial Services is there. Plus you have the likes of Lakshmi Vilas Bank who will be at your conference as well. What is the kind of interest that we are seeing in terms of meetings for these sectors, and your sense in terms of whether consolidation within the private banking space is something that is being spoken about at your conference as well?
See, first, let me take the broking companies. Now, everybody, nobody covers broking company because they seem to be the competitors to us. But when I looked at the balance sheet, I told my banking analyst that their top line from broking is just 10%. They have evolved as an NBFC or housing finance. Few companies are having AUMs. So we need to cover these companies. So that is where we started to have a soft coverage on Motilal Oswal as well as Edelweiss, and we started to interact with clients, and there was a lot of client interest. When we, from the time we had a soft coverage on Motilal Oswal, it has almost doubled. It is no more only a broking company. Broking company revenue is just 10%, and they've evolved themselves as a housing finance. They are having a AUM also, and even Edelweiss, they have diversified too much in the other segments of their business. So that is one thing which is happening in broking industry. Many of them have consolidated, or they have diversified their business, and the risk is mitigated. So I think that is where the growth is likely to come from. Here also we are positive on these broking companies which have diversified. When we come to Lakshmi Vilas Bank, yes, they are becoming aggressive, and they are on the expansion mode. And I think the asset quality concerns are behind, and going forward, things are going to be very good for small banks.
Prabhakar,
and there can be a mergers and acquisition, which my boss also perceived.
Yeah, no, so that's the point. Do you foresee any M&A in that space, smaller bank, private bank space, in the near future? I mean, over the next 6 months or so? Because we've been kind of hearing this for the last many years. But do you see anything likely? Anything has changed, on the ground for this to now happen finally?
See, it takes time. The rules also should be very supportive. I think few rules should be amended. Once that starts to happen, and if one M&A starts to happen in a good way, I think then things will improve in that segment. There are many small banks which can be merged to get into a larger entity.
All right, Mr. Prabhakar and Mr. Garla, appreciate you joining in. Both of you have a good conference, gentlemen. Thank you very much for being here with that.